Hi everyone, this is a sample lesson from a larger course. If you're interested in the full course, check out the link in the description below.
In this lesson we're going to start sculpting the ground. Okay, so I'm just going to hide this guy, the sphere, and then we'll select our object and we'll go into Sculpt mode. So you just go down here and then go into Sculpt mode. So now we can paint on this and actually push and pull the vertices based on our strokes here. We haven't actually got that much geometry. If you press Z, if you remember, we haven't actually got too many vertices. So what we're going to use is a feature called dynamic topology. And dynamic topology, or Dyn Topo as it's called here, is basically going to add detail where you need it. So if you turn that on, it gives you a little warning saying that it's going to blow away any UVs that you've got or any custom data. So just bear that in mind. Okay. And then, so now when you press down, you'll actually add polygons wherever you click. Okay, and you can see it's kind of pushing inwards there. So we've got a couple of things at the moment. First of all, we've got mirroring going on. I'm just going to undo that, Control Z. So first of all, let me just get rid of the mirroring. So that's in the symmetry. This is the toolbar, by the way. So this is all the controls for this brush. And so you can turn off symmetry. It's in the X direction by default. So you just turn that off. And then when you press down now, you basically just click. Okay. The other thing is, I'm just undoing every time, by the way. The other thing is the grid is here. So it helps to just turn this only render on. And it also helps maybe to have ambient occlusion on a little bit as well. So just turn ambient occlusion on just because it looks nice. The other thing is that when we click, you can see it goes all faceted there. We can have Blender automatically smooth out the normals. That's basically the face normals, and we can actually smooth them out automatically using the option here in dynamic topology, which is smooth shading. So if we turn that on, you can see it's going to be nice and smooth. Okay, so we've turned off our symmetry, we've turned on dynamic topology, and we've turned on smooth shading. You can see that it's actually going inwards and it's on add, so actually it should come upwards, but it's going downwards. So this shows you that it's based on the normal, and at the moment my normals are facing downwards. So just to see these, let's just come out of edit mode, of sculpt mode, and we'll go into edit mode. And then if we come into the display options here, in mesh display here, you'll see normals, and so you can show different types of normals. So I can show my face normals here, and I'll just turn on the other options here. If you turn off only render, just make them bigger there. This has got the size here as well. So you can see that they're facing downwards. Okay, so you can flip those if you want it to come upwards. So at the moment the faces are facing the wrong way, so that's why when you press add it actually goes downwards rather than upwards. So let's just flip those, seeing as we're in here. We can just go to mesh normals and then flip normals, and now they're going upwards. Pretty straightforward. So let's turn off those normals, and then we'll go back into sculpt mode here. We've got some modifier keys, so if we wanted to sculpt here, let's just turn this back on. And if we sculpt here, if we wanted this to come down rather than up, rather than changing this button here, we can just press Control. So when we press Control, it's going to be the opposite. Okay, so you can see that it's going down now. The other shortcut key is F for the brush size. So if I press F and then move my mouse left and right, I can actually make the brush size bigger. Turn off the display again. Only render, and you can also smooth out your strokes as well. So if you click here and you want to smooth that out, you can hold down Shift and you can smooth out those strokes as well. Okay, so this is the default brush. I'm just undoing. This is the default brush, and it's up here, Sculpt Draw. We've got other types of brushes here as well. Feel free to experiment with those. They're useful for different things. Let's start sculpting here, and it's Shift F to control the strength. So that's how much it's going in and out. So if I press Shift F, I can increase that and it's going to come out more. Okay, I would recommend keeping this on a low value for this particular scene here. So let's keep this quite low here. Then we can build it up slowly. Okay, I'm just going to open up this dynamic topology. So this basically will control how much detail is going to be added. So if I click here, you can see that we add polygons, but if we were to lower this to say 4, then it's basically going to add even more polygons. So if I press F and change the size again, we can make smaller details, and it's going to add those in. Okay, so it's going to add more polygons the lower this number is. Okay, this subdivide collapse option is if I zoom away and paint, it's going to actually overwrite what we've done. So it's removed that detail. So just be aware of that. So if you zoom out, it's going to remove your detail and add kind of a bit more of a broader mesh, and it's going to get rid of that detail there. Okay. So this is the polygons here. If I press Z, you can see it here. So if I zoom out and go over that area there, you can see that we've got less now. Okay. So depending on how close you are, that also adds polygons as well. It's good because you can zoom out and just kind of wipe it away and then go back in to add more detail. Just going to undo that again. So I recommend you do this with a tablet, and if you do it with a tablet, you can use a pressure here. This will enable the pressure. So if you press harder, you're going to get a deeper stroke there. And you can, if you turn this on, then it's going to be, the harder you press, the bigger the radius will be. But I'm just using a mouse for now. It should be okay for this particular scene. So I'm just going to sculpt around here, and just be careful of the edges here. So don't touch the edges, because if you move them up or down, the track will not match. Okay, so make sure you save this scene before you start, just in case you need to go back, because if you move that stuff, it's not going to match up with your track. Okay, so let's get sculpting. I'm just going to dig a hole in here so that it's kind of a bit of a kind of mark here. So we're just going to go to, just hold down Control, and then you can just add some lines. Hold down Shift to smooth those out. I'm just going to raise this area around it up. And again, be careful not to touch the edges. Okay, just getting a general shape in. Don't forget this side as well. Well, you don't want to sculpt that side too much because you can't see it too much anyway. Okay, just going to change my brush size, make it smaller, just come down, add kind of ridges here. We'll have a look at the render for this and see if it shows up in just a minute. Just take the tops of these, add more detail. Again, if you zoom in, you're going to add even finer detail. Just sharpen that detail up. The cool thing about this dynamic topology is that you're only adding detail where you need it, so you're not subdividing the whole thing, and then you don't need that detail, so it's pretty cool. Smoothing that out using Shift. And then let's just put some detail in here. Let's just make sure we can see it. We're going to come around to about here, so let's change it to subtract here. Too strong. Shift F, just lower it down a bit. Okay, so there's this other brush which is basically a different stroke mode. You've got different ways of applying this stroke. This is just a straightforward version, but what we can do is actually jitter our stroke, and kind of it will just spray all over the place. So stroke, we can change this in the stroke section and change this method from space to dots, and then you just turn up jitter, and then you'll basically just get some jittering. Let me just change the strength here. Let's change the stroke here. We're going to change this to blob, and then we'll use the dots with jitter. Okay, and that's better. All right, let's turn the strength down. And you'll have to zoom in when you do this, otherwise you're going to lose your detail. Let's make this smaller. So just adding little dots here and there. You can use the clay brush one, actually, clay strips, excuse me, and that was kind of adds layers on top, so we can use that with dots maybe to get a better result. Let's go on subtract mode, works a bit better. Okay, let's have a look at this from the camera's point of view. And just one note about this, that it won't actually update in the render until you come out of Sculpt Mode. So I'm just going to come out of Sculpt Mode, go into Object Mode, and then I'm just going to press Shift Z to go into the rendered view. And at the moment, we've actually got this on the shadow catcher mode. So if we select this guy, ground tracked, and just change the property here, just turn off shadow catcher just so we can see this. So this is what we've got. Looking pretty good. Let's come around. You want something that's going to catch the shadows and, you know, show up. Otherwise, if it's too smooth, it won't actually show up in the render. Okay, I might just make some of this a little bit higher, but I'm pretty happy with that. Let's just go around to the back here. You can see I'm just changing the current time here using my right click. That's because I've switched my keys around. You can use left click if you haven't switched your keys around, your left click select key. This stuff here seems a little bit non-existent, so let's try changing that. It looks like it's in the wrong place. I'm just going to come out of that. let's come out of this into solid mode, or you can press Z, and let's just go to the camera here, press 0, and then come around here. So this is why you should always go to the camera view, because we've done all that sculpting behind there, but you can't actually see it. So let's just come back into Sculpt Mode, and then I'm just going to add some, let's turn off my, go to the regular brush here, change the dots back to space, which is the regular mode, and subtract. Let's just change the strength up a little bit, a lot. Okay, that's a bit better. And then I'm going to lift this up by using the grab tool. So you can press G to do the grab tool. And some of this stuff is the number keys on the keyboard. So 1, 2, 3, 4 will be based on what's the first brush here. So there will be F blob will be number 1. Because I've got emulate numpad on in my preferences, those shortcut keys won't work. So just bear that in mind. So if you're using a regular keyboard, it should be fine. But if you're using a laptop, just be aware of that. So I can just use this from the camera's point of view and just lift this up just in the regular way. So I'm just going to just make this a bit bigger, and then I can just do it from the camera's point of view and just lift those polygons up a little bit. And this is, you're actually just moving it. It's a bit easier. Just want to jitter this a little bit. Let's just try and get some of the underneath polygons working. These polygons under here, just want them to kind of overlap this area because it's quite, hasn't got much detail there. So just add this up a little bit, just so it's inside the engine. And then let's jitter this out, maybe with a clay brush actually. And this is on dots, turn up jitter, and let's make this smaller. Let's make sure dynamic topology is on. Otherwise you won't get much detail. Jitter this some more. Actually, it's not jitter, but we actually want it to be stronger. Let's turn the strength up a little bit and subtract. Zooming in to add more polygons here, just a bit more detail. So I'm going to save that there. Let's just come out of this. You can spend as much time as you want. It's a lot of fun sculpting stuff, so enjoy it and just make sure you save regularly, and I'll see you in the next lesson.